Okay, we're going to use automation in this lesson to do a bit of administration work. The kind of thing that you used to have to do manually. We're going to basically take our EduDemo replica set and we are going to upgrade. So as you can see here, it was previously on 265. I've downgraded it to just show you an upgrade. So I used automation to do the downgrade as well. I'm just going to show you an upgrade instead. Now, to do this manually, what you usually would have had to have done would be take a secondary out, upgrade its binary, bring it back in, take a secondary out, upgrade its binary, bring it back in, step down the primary, let one of these become primary, and then upgrade the final member. And this was a very common pattern, a very common administrative technique to do kind of rolling upgrades, have absolutely minimal downtime. The only downtime that you would actually get from that is the step down, right, which is pretty quick. You just have to very minimal time where there would be a bit of latency as the primary switched over from one node to another. So very, very much minimized downtime. And that's essentially what automation is going to do for you as well, right? But it's going to do it all smoothly and one shot. Now, worth pointing out that you can, if you so wish, upgrade each one of these individually using automation as well, right? And so you can kind of step through the process yourself. But if you're taking the easy way, so first I'll show you how we get here. Deployment, edit mode. Here we are in edit mode. And if we're going to make a change to the entire cluster, then we're going to use this arrow here, which is next to the EduDemo replica set name. So we're going to click on that. That gives us the replica set configuration, and we're going to hit edit. So you can see we can select the version over here. We can go for any of the 2.6 versions. Before we actually go and do that, where do those versions come from? Really quickly, we go back to deployment, and we go to, under security, we go to version manager. You can see that on the left we have all the community versions, 2.4, 2.6, and 2.8, which is not selected because it's release candidate, it's not production just yet. So those are all the ones that are available. You'll notice that 2.6.4 and 2.6.5 are grayed out. And the reason why I can't deselect those is because I have something actually running. I have a sharded cluster running in 2.6.5 and I have a replica set running in 2.6.4. So I can't remove them until I move those off of 2.6.4 and 2.6.5. So those are in use in production. That's where they're grayed out and can't be deselected. Everything else you can take off the table for people that are installing new clusters, new replica sets. All right, so back to our upgrade. Click on edit and we'll change the version to 2.6.5. There we go. Scroll down, hit apply. Now up here at the top we can see our unpublished changes. Modified replica set, EduDemo, review and deploy. Here's our summary. EduDemo is going to go from version 2.6.4 to 2.6.5. That's what we want. Confirm and deploy. That's now in progress. Scroll down a little bit so we can actually see what happens to the individual members here. So the first two to come back are the secondaries. That's because those were done first, right? It went in, altered the version to 2.6.5. Basically restarted with a different binary path, and then finally did the primary. So that's where the order came from there. Goal state has been reached. Excellent. Let's go back to view mode. And now you can see that we're on 2.6.5 and the numbers are no longer red. So you'll get a red version number when you're on the version that's not the latest release in this particular stable branch. Let's see what that looked like from a cluster perspective. And it's just taken a little while for this data to actually percolate into the graphs, of course, because this is just something we did very recently. So it's only sampled once a minute. It can take a little while for things to come in. So what does this look like? Well, we've got everything else chugging along, and then we've got these bars here at the end that will represent, well, two things. First of all, the restarts of the processes. Those will be the red bars. And then the step down for the primary and back up if it remains the primary. So it's actually switched back to this demo 2 here. If we go to our little annotation, we'll see an orange vertical bar indicates the server is now a primary. Excellent. So we should expect to see that over here. We do. We'll see the reds here, and there'll be a brown bar on this middle one as well, which is probably a little bit difficult to see because it'll be right in line with the red bar for the process restart. So there you go. That's what it's done. It did the two secondaries first, then stepped down this middle one and made this one primary, finally doing the restart on this middle one. So did everything that you'd expect it to do. It takes a lot of the pain out. To further illustrate this, one of the more painful things that you could do as a database administrator running a MongoDB cluster was have to change the oplog size. Now the oplog size in these hosts is actually quite small. I did that for provisioning purposes. I wanted to keep it nice and small, so provision fast and things like that. Didn't take up too much disk space, so I'd have more disk space for data and things like that. So the oplog size is not particularly big. Let's go in and see if it's actually set. So we're going to go into edit mode. We're just going to talk about this third member here, which is currently a secondary. We're going to hit here. I'm going to hit edit. We're going to scroll down. It's going to be in advanced options. So we're going to add an option. We're going to say oplog size, and we're going to set it to 1024. So we're going to set it to 1 gig, set in megabytes. So it wasn't set here before, so it probably took 5% of free space, whatever that happened to be when I actually provisioned these systems. I think I did them on an initial 10 gig EBS instance, so it probably got 5% of that, which is not terribly large. That's 500 megs or so. So it should be doubling the oplog size here. Now, to give you an idea, all I'm doing in here is going in and adding an extra option and setting it to 1024. In previous iterations of MongoDB, before we had automation available to us, then to do this, you would have to take the replica set out, you would have to delete the oplog, you would have to recreate the oplog, you would then have to insert a relevant oplog entry so that it would be able to sync back up with the rest of the replica set. Okay, so it's a non-trivial task. It involves you taking the secondary completely out of the set, starting it up independently, and doing this sort of complicated procedure. Now, thanks to automation, we just come in here, we set our 1024 in our oplog size parameter, and we hit apply. We can review those changes. So here's the summary this time. For replica set edudemo, we've got this secondary, which is currently secondary, this member of the edudemo replica set. We're going to change the oplog size from unset, so it was 5% of free space when it was provisioned, to 1024 instead. So let's do that. Confirm and deploy. Goal state has been reached. Excellent. Let's go back to view mode. And what we would see eventually, because this has just been restarted because of our upgrade, we'll see another red bar pop in here. And it was already secondary, so no state transition this time, primary to secondary. But what we would notice is that over time, this host's oplog should be significantly bigger. And again, we can go through the rest of the members of the set, or set it at a replica set level and get the oplog size all up to the same value. So I picked those two particular examples, an upgrade of the binary, or indeed a downgrade of the binary. It's done exactly the same way. And the setting of oplog size, which is a notoriously difficult setting to change, as two examples of how automation kind of makes your life easier and sort of takes the drudgery out of being a DBA for MongoDB. So there you go. There's a couple of quick examples. We'll get into more on the sharded side in a later lesson.